Welcome to the second episode of my two-part series related to Operation Lumberjack. This time, an aid in writing villains and world building. Here, I am challenging the notion that villains must either be manic monsters of madness or nuanced new nodes of novelty. In short, unlike the so-called gender binary, which is just an accurate understanding of biological sex, villains aren't a binary choice. Before continuing this video, remember to like, subscribe, and check out Micah's Discord server. Also, don't forget to comment and share my videos, for only discussion promoting blasphemy against the Lord will be taken down. Now that that's done, let's get to the video. Let me start by introducing you to John Kreese, a well-known figure throughout the Cobra Kai and Karate Kid cinematic universe. He has a complex backstory filled with determination, often doing the right thing in the pursuit of his goals. Occasionally, he will help others out of a sense of moral good or compassion. He will stand up for the truly innocent, especially if he benefits out of it, and he will turn on those trying to hurt him. This act of defiance and strength is a virtue, not a sign of evil. And that has often resulted in good things. For example, he threatened Tori's landlord by showing him no mercy. John Kreese is also very flawed in his approach, but that doesn't make him irredeemable. Sure, he may have led his students down a dark path, but it was a path that he genuinely believed in. Just as he was resolute in his stance against those trying to take him down, he took his students down the exact same road. In regards to Johnny Lawrence, you're correct in saying that he did call him a failure and destroyed his trophy. However, he fixed it in an effort to get right with him. And while some people say that this is manipulation, I truly believe that he was honest about getting his crew back in office. Now, after seeing my defense of him, one could say that he's a perfect example of a nuanced hero of his own story. Through seasons 2 to 5, you're correct in saying that he's at least somewhat sympathetic and worthy of redemption. Perhaps he could be heroic in his own way, working with Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso to get out of prison and fight for truth. Season 6, however, tells a different story. Just like with every truly heinous villain, he has one moment where he proves himself to be a monster unworthy of redemption. At this moment, he goes out to Korea to seek his old master and once again expand the ways of Cobra Kai. There he's given a test by his master, where he travels to a nearby cave and has to strangle a cobra. In this moment he gets scared shitless and enters a deep meditation. First, he imagines the ruthless Terry Silver, concerned only about his power while betraying him. And second, he imagines his former student, Johnny Lawrence. Rather than crushing Silver, a representative of his dark side, he crushes Lawrence, and by doing so, he tears the last elements of his compassion. This is how John Kreese is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. A villain who, in his ultimate moment, makes a dark choice that devoids him of hope. This is where he commits himself to evil, resonating that even if he tries to redeem himself later, there's no going back to becoming the same person. This is a message to the world not only about the villain and his evil nature, but about the timeless horror and sterility of hell. Sometimes the bard's songs grow sour, and the paladin's holy blast becomes an eldritch inferno, never to return to their original state without a supreme transformation. Although I could add Mankar Cameron and perhaps Digoth to the list, this is World Builders Ministries, not critique other World Builders Ministries. For this reason, I'll be showing off an example of my villains, particularly related to Operation Lumberjack. These villains are George Wallace and Charles Oserwanch, perfect examples for my narrative work. Starting with George Wallace, he's a patriotic Canadian who truly believes in his country. He's an American revivalist because of his deep belief in a national myth steeped in democratic values. He carries his Bible with him partially out of reverence for Christ and partially out of reverence for America's founding fathers, who would surely look down on an irreligious man claiming the title of a Christian nation. However, beyond his ceremonial reverence for the Bible and a Christian doctrine, he could hardly be considered a Christian. He goes to church one day a week and then travels to his nationalist or liberal political rally. Along with his reverence for America comes an intense hatred for Wolcadia, not just for a historic rivalry, but for the reasons behind said historic rivalry. The Wolcadians, according to him, are ruthless heathen dedicated to their backwards ideology, religion, and monarchy, devoid of the democratic governance and forward-thinking approach necessary for respect. This is why he's as adamant as he is about taking over Wolcatia's rightful Narstland territory. It doesn't matter about who originally had it or who is stealing it. What matters is a commitment to democracy, and Wolcadia stands directly in the way. So far, these character traits don't show him as the villain. Rather, he's a respectable zealot and ideologue, a figure that most Wolcadians themselves would admire as a noble savage despite their ideological opposition. However, like most great villains, he has his one moment in which all pretenses of morality fade. This comes in the Hethrin Farm incident, where a small household on the Cascadian-Wolcadian border was blown up by Wallace's lackeys disguised as Wolcadian extremists. He collaborated with the UN to blame the death he ordered on his own people on Wolcadia, knowingly gaslighting the Wolcadian nation. In regards to Charles Oserwanch, his story is a bit different. He is the type of president who will deliver the most fantastic and narrative speeches in the least charismatic way possible, with his sheer boredom and lack of charisma itself being a form of charisma. He's a serious office worker and businessman, a clever Machiavellian in politics who is still ultimately beholden to a larger ideal. Sure, he's not the best politician in world history, but he's a clever man who has a sovereign ideal. He is involved in national governance and has guided his nation towards a progressive future that he does believe in, even if to a fault. His true villainous moment is not that of Wallace, but instead, it's much more insidious. Going through the annals of his character, one cannot find this moment yet, for throughout his life it remained a hypothetical. What Oserwanch says is bullshit. A commitment to democracy and human rights against the whims of an authoritarian government sounds nice, but the subtle infiltration and spread of his ideology throughout all aspects of life clearly isn't. Still, he believes it fervently, treating his actions not as a soulless way to gain power or a necessary evil, but as a positive advancement for humanity. However, even if he were to stop believing in the bullshit he's saying, he'd still say it. I hope you enjoy this video on how world-building villains doesn't mean you have to make nuanced heroes of their own story or baseless Disney villains. Unlike the two biological sexes, or genders if you're a Satanist, this isn't a strict binary system. And finally, may God bless you, for He is the divine source of creation and beyond all through His merit. In His creation, He shows His honor, holiness, and greatness infinitely beyond all of humanity. As we create our worlds, let this one message ring true to all of you. Be an artist, not a nerd, for all art is a form of prayer. May He who is most beautiful, most powerful, most wise, most righteous, and most loving bless you. Amen.